As of February 2026, the geopolitical temperature in the Middle East is rising rapidly. The United States and Iran stand at a critical crossroads. Following stalled nuclear negotiations, President Trump has reportedly set a 10 to 15-day deadline for Tehran to agree to strict terms, including zero uranium enrichment. Public warnings have been issued, suggesting that if diplomacy fails, consequences will follow. While talks continue behind closed doors, actions on the ground tell a more serious story. The United States has assembled its largest regional military buildup since the 2003 Iraq invasion. Two aircraft carrier strike groups, the USS Gerald R. Ford and the USS Abraham Lincoln, are now deployed in the region. Advanced assets including F-22 and F-35 stealth fighters, B-2 strategic bombers, aerial refueling tankers, and layered missile defense systems are positioned for rapid action. Military analysts estimate that if negotiations collapse, the probability of kinetic strikes in the coming weeks is extremely high. However, sources close to decision-making circles suggest that Washington may initially prefer a limited strike, designed not to trigger full-scale war, but to pressure Tehran back to the negotiating table. If military action begins, the strategy would likely unfold in phases. The opening stage would focus on neutralization. Stealth bombers and fifth-generation fighters would target Iranian air defenses, radar installations, and command and control infrastructure. Tomahawk cruise missiles launched from naval vessels would strike from long distances. Cyber operations could simultaneously disrupt communications and surveillance networks. The objective: establish air superiority quickly while minimizing U.S. losses. Once Iranian defenses are weakened, the second phase would begin: degradation. Carrier-based aircraft and long-range strike platforms would expand operations against ballistic missile facilities, drone production centers, and military infrastructure tied to the Revolutionary Guard Corps. If escalation continues, options could include a naval blockade of Iranian oil exports, a move that would significantly raise the stakes and potentially widen the conflict. Reports suggest three broad strategic options have been presented: enforce, limited strikes targeting security forces and pressure points; degrade, broader attacks on missile and nuclear capabilities; or remove, a far more aggressive strategy aimed at regime leadership and structural collapse. For now, the preference appears to lean toward limited enforcement, at least initially. But war rarely unfolds exactly as planned. In terms of duration, this would not resemble a one-night operation. Initial strike waves could last 10 to 14 days. If Iran responds through missile attacks, regional proxies, or strikes on U.S. assets, the conflict could extend for weeks, possibly months, evolving into a sustained attritional campaign. Notably, there are no indications of preparations for a ground invasion. This suggests Washington is not seeking occupation, but rather strategic containment and capability reduction. Likely targets would include Iran's remaining nuclear infrastructure, facilities such as Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan, in an effort to delay any nuclear breakout timeline; ballistic missile stockpiles and drone production sites; command centers of the Revolutionary Guards; air defense systems and military airfields; and in a more extreme escalation scenario, high-value leadership figures. Strikes would likely emphasize precision targeting to minimize civilian casualties. Yet the risks remain significant. Iran retains the capacity to retaliate through proxy networks across the region, from Lebanon to Yemen, and through asymmetric cyber or missile responses. Ultimately, the situation remains fluid. Diplomacy has not yet collapsed, but the military posture suggests that contingency planning is not theoretical. The coming days may determine whether this crisis returns to the negotiating table or moves into open confrontation. NewsTold. Truth beyond headlines.